This is Call with Dad's podcast, where today's issues, concerns, and joys of being a dad are discussed, with your hosts E.A. Maynard and Mr. Pancake sharing their views, experiences, and all things they know. Join the journey with us. Welcome to Call with Dads, more than a podcast or a website, but your home for a community of dads who want to be better. Now let's get started.
So let's get started with this. Right now, Jeff, Amy, you both are here. I follow you guys on X, Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it nowadays. I've enjoyed a lot of your stuff that you guys have on there. I like the fact that you guys are trying to get families to be healthier. And God knows I'm probably the worst person to try to talk on this topic just because I'm literally, I guess the best way, Jeff, the picture you have on your website, healthyfamiliesthrive.com. And for anyone listening wanting that address, it'll be in the show notes. But the picture you have on there from, I think, 2016, 2017. How you look in that picture is pretty close to how I look now. So, and for me, the idea of getting fit is just being able to keep up with my kids. What got you guys to start looking at building up first this concept that you have, trying to help families get in shape? So if you can help us a little bit get to know what your guys' purpose is, what you're doing, and as we discussed earlier, let us know your kids' ages so that we know at least the age group of kids you're talking about.
Our kids right now are 9 and 7, which is a pretty cool age. I think around the time of that picture, we had 2 kids under 2. Almost feel like we have a little PTSD from that time in life. But, myself and Amy were always fairly active, played sports, enjoyed working out, doing things like hikes and bikes, whatnot. And we've been working with parents for a number of years, so we knew that those challenges of early parenthood can really sneak up on you. And even with that experience and our history of being fit and active, we got hit pretty hard ourselves. So one day we kind of looked in the mirror and looked at each other and realized, we'd let our fitness slide, we let our eating slide, we sort of just fell in that habit of survival mode. And having worked with parents, we saw the struggles of parents who couldn't keep up with their kids, didn't have the energy to play with their kids, had the bad back, or always stressed out, that sort of thing. They weren't able to really enjoy their life with their kids because they weren't physically able to handle all those different challenges that come with parenthood. So we'd seen what that road led to, and we didn't want to go down it ourselves. And kind of around the time of that picture, we said, no, let's do this. We owe it to each other. We kind of let each other slide a little bit with some of our habits. So it was time to hold each other accountable. And we knew we wanted more for our kids as well. So we took those pictures and just slowly started, step by step, brick by brick, just rebuilt our habits, just to kind of get back that healthy lifestyle. And that's sort of what we preach now. We've been there ourselves. We've worked with a lot of parents who've been in that situation, and it can be daunting to think about getting back in the routine of fitness and changing diet, and while you're just trying to survive, while you're just trying to deal with diapers and hoping you can get a few hours of consistent sleep that night. So it can be overwhelming to think that far ahead, but we really just took it kind of day at a time, step at a time sort of thing, and we're there to support each other. And we took ourselves to that journey, and we're still on that journey. And I think that's a big part of what our account is to inspire parents that they can do that too, and really empower them, because we believe that you need to be the best version of yourself, or at least be pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself to become the best parent you can be. Anything you want to add there?
No, it's a good one.
All right. Well, to me, that sounds fantastic. But, you look at it, the whole dad bod thing's supposedly big popular. Like I said, I'm probably as jiggly as you look in that picture back in 2017. That's where I'm at now. And, I know it sounds bad. My wife works out. She does like running on the treadmill. She does all these different exercises. And I try to stay as healthy as I can. And she has this obsession with wanting me to live longer, so she feeds me better. So there are those things that we do. But, what's what's the real benefit of me worrying about if I'm not fit or tan, or not tan, but if I'm not like fit in nice shape and all this?
Yeah, I think it depends on, everyone's got a different starting point. We clearly don't preach the tan lifestyle coming from Canada. But, in terms of being healthy, a big motivator for us is, we see our parents, and Amy's parents are a little bit more on the healthier, active side, and they get to keep up with our kids, and we see that relationship. And we also see other parents. My parents are not quite as active, let's say, and how that affects the relationship with their kids, right? So we were viewing it as almost an investment for our later years. I want to be that grandpa that is able to keep up with my kids and grandkids and do all those fun things with them. I've been on the other side, having gone through some big injuries in my past, and it sucks not being able to do what you want to do. It's you almost feel trapped in your body when your body's letting you down. And the whole concept of dad bod in your 30s and 40s, well, that quickly moves into bad knees in your 50s, and on all these pills in your 60s, and you just it's a slippery slope to go down, right? So we kind of hold each other accountable to live longer as well. I want to be there for my kids. I want to, the journey of parenting doesn't end when they move out. We want to be able to help them raise their kids and age gracefully into our senior years.
Yeah. I want to ask you about your, if you don't mind me jumping in, your injuries. The reason I ask is because it's actually quite common with a lot of people, in their younger years or whatever, did this or that, especially military veterans and stuff that got hurt overseas and so on and so forth. It seems to be the hugest excuse. Oh, my back hurts, or oh, my knees hurt, or whatever. What were your injuries, and what did you do to get through them?
Yeah, being a rough and tumble kid, I think I've broken, half the bones in my body over the years. And sort of the big one that got to me when I was 19, I was in a pretty bad car accident, and broke my pelvis and my leg and a bunch of other stuff. And I think the trap we fall into when you're in your teens, you can bounce back pretty quickly. So I didn't really bother with the rehab. No one really hammered it home the need for, you better take care of this now or it's going to cause you problems later, sort of thing. So as soon as I could get back on my snowboard, and as soon as I could, get back to hanging out with my friends, that was sort of it for my rehab journey. And then as I got a little bit older, and, this started to hurt a little bit more, that started to hurt a little bit more. It started creeping into my life a little bit more as we got older. And sort of the point that really hit me hard, and I guess I should mention my background. I'm a sports chiropractor, so I deal with injuries all the time. I help athletes through their injuries, the weekend warriors, the dad bods with the bad back. But then when our youngest was not even a month old, my pelvis acted up. I threw my back out. I was in bed for a week. I couldn't move. And just seeing my poor wife, who had just given birth, dealing with 2 kids under 2, and I was physically unable to really do much of anything. That was right around the time we took that picture. This was where I really had to make the commitment. And it's a change in mindset, because it's not, do these couple stretches, take these, Tylenols, and you'll be better in a day or two. It ended up being, months, and I'm honestly still on the journey to, restore mobility and strength and whatnot. And the silver lining is, if I don't stay active, it kind of creeps up on me. So that's how I keep it at bay. But like you said, it's a common thing, because you got, the dads used to play football and they got the trick knee from an old injury. And, the problem is as we get older, those things start to creep up a little bit more. Right. And that's really, people will come into my practice and complain and blame it on the injury 20 years ago, but in the last 20 years, they haven't done any stretches. They haven't.
What did you do to fix it? What did you do to help yourself? Yeah.
Exactly. The way you were nodding, I can tell you've had a few injuries yourself.
You don't even want to know. One of my biggest issues was smoking. I used to smoke and drink like a fish. smoke like a train. So, I mean, I have multiple severe spinal injuries. And a doctor years ago told me, he's like, you want to stop, that's where all your nerves are. Stop smoking. It was like, I was like, how does that have anything to do with my spine? He's like, it does. All your cartilage in between shrinks and then your nerves get touched. Your nerves are 10 times more active because you smoke, because they're getting that chemical. So stop smoking and the pain will at least cut by half. And sure enough, I haven't smoked in 5 years, but it took me to have a kid to quit smoking.
Did you notice a kind of decrease in your symptoms with the quitting smoking?
Oh, yeah, big time. Yeah, big time. Yeah, absolutely.
I like
So
what you
let me
said
do
there.
this.
Kids should be very motivating. A lot of times you'll hear the excuse, my kids got me fat, but they should be the reason you quit smoking and get healthy, that sort of thing.
And if anybody listening wants to know how to quit smoking, just quit. Don't go to patch. Don't work your way down. Just quit, because as soon as you cut down from 19 cigarettes a day to 18 to 17, and then you have one beer, and then you back up to 22, and then just stop. Because if you don't stop, you're gonna go down and you go back up and down, back up and down. So that's my
On
advice.
that. The smoking thing, I'm gonna jump in right there. The smoking thing,
Yeah.
like was smoking since 12 years old to about 34. I tried everything. I even tried cold turkey, like Mr. Pancake's suggestion. If you can't quit cold turkey just because he's saying so, go talk to your doctor. I had to use Chantix, but I also knew I needed to quit smoking because I just got married. My wife was a non-smoker and I wanted to be at least a little bit healthier so that we didn't smell like cigarettes. And if we went on trips, I didn't have to smoke around her. So
Chantix if you're not a combat veteran. Don't
whatever
take
your excuse
Chantix
is,
if you are.
talk to your doctor. There might be options if you can't quit cold turkey, and look at different options out there. Obviously, Mr. Pancake is not a doctor, and following all of his advice is not always the best idea. As we've learned on other shows, like the financial advice you try to give on a prior show. But let me ask this. You talk about on your website about how you're out there trying to help parents have more energy. It's, what is it? Unhappy with dad bod, muffin top, feeling like screens are taking over your family. I mean, what are you finding that your programs, your things that you're doing to help people, how are those helping people get away from screens, be more active in the sense of being together as a family? What are you seeing and what benefits are coming from that?
I think we're really seeing almost like a return of some traditional family values. Like 50, 60 years ago, there was a lot more to this like epicenter of what a family truly meant. A parent was possibly able to be home with the kids, family meal times were priorities, doing things together was normal. Nowadays, you're lucky if your family even eats at the same time of the day. Everyone's eating at different times. Possibly you're on the go back and forth between things. We've almost adopted this mentality of overscheduling ourselves, and time has become so busy. And then on the flip side, we're connected to these devices that are in our pockets and on us all the time. So we're constantly checking that ding to see what that message was, or just watching this one video that someone might have sent me. But those things are snowballing. This one video, now all of a sudden you're down a rabbit hole, and 30 minutes later, you've wasted 30 minutes. We're trying to just reframe some of these things for parents, taking that 30 minutes to maybe spend some time with your kids, take an interest in the things that interest them, get outside, just get outside and go for a walk. It doesn't have to be these big, grand experiences. Just be present together without distraction.
I think tying it back to fitness, and that's why we sort of use that as a jump off point. Like how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So, the thing with fitness is it requires a baseline of discipline. It requires, you to respect your body a little bit. And, if you're lacking in that, it's going to pop up in other areas of your life too. You're not going to be disciplined to put the phone down and spend time with your kids, right? You're not going to be disciplined in how you prepare your meals. You're not going to be disciplined in ensuring that keeping your family active, right? It's just popping up all over the place with these little, these dopamine hits. We're addicted to the screen. We're addicted to that little bit of extra junk food, that sort of thing. And all of those are really deteriorating that nuclear family like we're seeing. And now kids they align more with pop stars and whatnot than they do with their actual parents, right? So I think, that's for a lot of families that we deal with, that's the first step in taking control back of their family and raising that strong family, is starting to work on themselves, right? Clean up those habits a little bit.
All right. So let me just ask this then. So you mentioned busy schedule, all this. And believe me, when it comes to busy schedule, I know that feeling all too well. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. My daughter wakes up randomly through the night, so a full night of sleep is kind of rare. So I'm usually tired, like you've mentioned. But I also have, between what we're trying to do here with Mr. Pancake and I, what you guys are trying to do, trying to get everything better, full-time work, so on and so on. I mean, it's a never-ending schedule of stuff to do. And for me, like my son, I work from home. My son's homeschooled. So on top of that, I'm also trying to help teach him, help him move forward. I have no time for anything. I mean, literally, if I find time to exercise, it's at 10 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go to a gym at 10 o'clock at night, especially when my wife's trying to do her studying for her certifications. I'm trying to catch up on work. When does somebody with a schedule that's so busy, they only have like a half hour at 10 o'clock at night, when are they going to be able to actually do any working out?
10 o'clock at night.
I think these are good points. I mean, we just did in one of our emails, before kids, you're able to work out when you have time. Sometimes it's on your way to work. Sometimes it's on your way home. You get in a lunch hour workout or something. You always seem to find time. As a parent, you just don't have time. So you have to make time. And, I've done workouts, preparing lunch, if go to bed half hour earlier to get up half hour earlier. One thing that really helped us, it's not a sexy answer by any means, but it was just scheduling. I got the kids for the next 45 minutes. You get in there, go to your class, go to your gym, whatever it might be, right? With apps and home workouts, and there's so many ways. 6 months ago we put all our stuff in storage and took our family traveling. So we live in a 29-foot trailer. And all we have for exercise is a few bands and loops, and we're out there doing squats on the picnic table or whatever it might be. So you have to claw and scratch for 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there, sort of thing. You don't have the luxury of these 90-minute workouts like you got before kids. But I think it's really just coming down to being efficient with your time, right? As you start to get on this journey of parenthood, you figure out how you can be more efficient with your morning routine, your night routine, meal prepping, that sort of thing. And if you can kind of scrape together, 30 minutes here or there from getting a little more efficient, then there you go. You got a little bit of time for yourself.
All right.
Yeah, I think so. That's a lot of that stuff. That's kind of like how I got started. I would say I probably started like getting back into shape probably like maybe 2 years ago-ish range. And I mean, I work a desk job, from home, but I mean, I'm not at home, but I'm supposed to be at home. I have like my own little office in town. Anyways, another story. But I would sit here and like hang out and like smash jugs of coffee and you know what I mean, and just sit here all day tacking away at my computer, and then I'd go home and it'd be like 9 o'clock at night, be like, hey wife, what's up? And she would be like, no thanks, I'm gonna go to bed. So it kind of like all that stuff kind of like dug on me, and like it's like it's making me miserable, it's making her miserable. I go to pick up my kid, do simple things like pick her up or have fun with her. I mean, I would go mow the lawn and I'd be like, you know, now my lawn takes me 30 minutes to do the whole thing. So before, like 5 minutes in, I'm like dying, you know, it's hot, you know. So my wife used to do these like dumb, like girly kicks things on YouTube and stuff. So I was like, all right, you know, whatever. I would see her doing them. I'd be on the couch, like doing goofing off and playing on my computer or whatever. I just was like, I gotta get up. So I'd get up and go do it with her a little bit, you know. And then when I was at work, I'm sitting here working and whatever. I set my alarm. You know, every like hour, every 2 hours, I would set an alarm, you know, and every time that alarm would go off, I would do 10 push-ups. And I started doing that, and that's just how I jumped into it. I mean, it takes literally 10 seconds to do 10 push-ups. You know what I mean? So that's what I would do. And 10 is not very much. You know what I mean? I mean, some people can't do 10, so do 5. I don't know. And that's what I would do. And that was just enough to get me at least going, you know. So that's kind of where I was the same way. And finding those few minutes or few seconds was what got me started. And finding time, I was the same way with finding time. Like I had no time whatsoever. So when I started like the Pancakes with Your Dad social media stuff, I actually doing all of this in addition to adding that, I would stay up to like 4 in the morning every single day, just editing and creating content and making stuff. And then I would put it like in a scheduler. That way it would like come out the next day, or I would set alarms to remind myself to post it and stuff like that. And it'd give me time, but man, I'm still staying up till probably about 1 or 2 editing stuff. Everyone's asleep and I'm up like editing stuff. But that's basically how you just got to find time, make time, and sacrifice, honestly, pretty much.
Love hearing it.
Yeah, it's all like a matter of priorities, really, right? We all have the same
Right.
24 hours in a day, and
Yeah.
you know, I get it too.
Mhm.
Sometimes at the end of the day, you just want to like mindlessly, you know, do something on your phone for 30 minutes. Well, maybe
Scroll and eat cheeseburgers.
for sure, you know, so maybe taking that time and spending 5 minutes of it journaling, like working on my mindset. We get a lot of our clients to start there first, because once you dial in your reasons for wanting these things, a healthier lifestyle, being a better example for your kids, it's more motivating to you to like get up maybe an hour earlier before you normally would, to get in that workout, to make sure you can meal prep for the day so you're not swinging by a drive-through 3 times, right? It's just those little things that once you give it that consistency, they'll start to compound, and you'll all of a sudden, you know, notice you have that time.
And it really is really, really hard to chop away your sleep time. That's probably the hardest out of all of them to do, is to cut your sleep time. But I mean, in my mind, I was sleeping 8 hours, but I'm over there like every 10 minutes I would roll or toss turn. I'm waking up in the middle of the night. So you get 8 hours of miserable sleep, or you get 4 hours of really good sleep.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a give or take. And me personally, I think 4 hours of really, really, really good sleep is way better than 8 hours of unbelievably miserable sleep.
Yeah.
There's also a mindset around that too, where people have no problem in shaving off their sleep at night by staying up later. But then you talk about getting up 30 minutes earlier, and it's, well, I can't do that. I need my sleep, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I honestly, I hate using the post I just posted today, but I mean I don't know, Eric, you saw the video. You know, she used a few choice words, but I mean, she's not wrong. You know,
Right.
You know, you got kids. You have a daughter, or I mean, even it affects for boys too. She talks about daughters, but I mean, when you get older, do you want your daughter chasing some little simp boy, or do you want her chasing a man? You know, you want her to have a man that opens the door for her, you know, supports her when she's lying in the hospital bed because she's having your kid. You know, these are all things you want him to be. You want him to be strong, you know, a manly man. You don't want a simp boy. So, I mean, it's kind of like it's a mindset. You got to be a man if you're a man, obviously. I can't speak for women.
You know, that kind of goes into another issue I wanted to kind of touch on as well. Is so Mr. Pancake's talking about this video where basically the woman stating that the father sets the example of what a strong man is, what a man that's worth having looks like, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
He posted a prior video where this lady's slamming a car door shut, and it shows the kid mimicking on a toy car doing the same thing with the follow-up words of they'll mimic what you do. Now, you guys have kids, and I've even seen on your postings where your kids are working out with your things like that. How often do your kids actually watch what you do and participate or actually try to do exercises with you? Because I know once in a while I can say, yeah, it looks fun, but they're off wanting to play or do whatever.
Yeah, for us, it's always just been they're around it. We own a gym back in Canada, so they would be around there. We would work out together on weekends, and sometimes they're coloring on the floor. Sometimes they're just swinging from the rings, and sometimes they see you pushing a sled or slamming a med ball, and they ask to try it or ask what you're doing. And we've never forced it on the kids. They're just around it, and sometimes they're curious and they ask, and sometimes they actually want to join in. And as they get older, they seem to want to join in a little bit more here and there. And we encourage it. It's our son's 7, and we always talk about him having big pipes and stuff like that. And the other day he comes out of the trailer and is with no shirt on because we're working out, and he's pulling on the band with no shirt. And so just you're putting those thoughts into his mind. You want to be a champion, you want to be big and strong. Right. He loves playing hockey, he loves playing sports and wrestling and whatnot. So that this is a healthy habit to do that. It's the same with eating, right? Our kids enjoy eating their steak and their high protein meals and stuff like that. And if you eat this good stuff, that's how you grow up to be big and strong, right? So I think it's putting it in their environment and exposing it to them, right? And we hit up playgrounds all the time, and me and Amy will go do chin-ups or something on the monkey bars, and sometimes they just pretend we're not even there, and so, sometimes they ask to join in and help them out a little bit. Right. So again, it's just it's
I was listening to a lady talking about something like that, similar to ideas about what your kids do and eat and how they eat and stuff like that. And she was talking about she had taken her kids to a family reunion, and when she took her kids there, there was like cookies and Oreos and barbecue pork and all kinds of stuff. And the kid was like, "Mom, what is this?" And the kid was already like 8 by that point, 7 or 8. And she explained it to the kid, and she let him try it or whatever. But I mean, she basically said, "My kid doesn't want this stuff. You know what I mean? He wants to eat broccoli. He wants to eat meat. He wants to eat good chicken and stuff, eat eggs in the morning." And I mean, honestly, it's because that's what I do. I showed him this stuff, and I just simply don't give him Oreos. It's not that I say no. I don't have to say no. I just simply don't give them to him. They're not in the house for me to give to the kid. And I'm a little probably more traditional American than that. I can't go that far because I like cookies myself. But but I mean, she's not wrong. The kid's not gonna really ask for that stuff if the kid doesn't get that stuff all the time. I feel I should take my kid to go get ice cream. She can have ice cream, but I'm gonna take you to it. I'm not gonna have it in the house. That way, if you want it, it's a special thing. So.
I don't know. Exactly. Me personally, I make my own from home. So we have homemade ice cream always. So
that's good.
Do you have the Ninja Ice Creamy?
No, we have I think a Hamilton Beach or a Magic something. All I know is I have this bucket that spins around, and I just dump everything in it. And I actually use it to help my son learn fractions. So I put in a quarter. I'm like, if I need one whole, how many quarters do I need? If I need an eighth, and I take 2/8, how much do I have? So I do things like that to kind of
That's cool.
help, because
Yeah.
I've been in the food service industry so long that I sit there and go, there's a lot of math in about every area of the food service industry.
Yeah.
So I kind of use that as examples since it comes to my head, that in construction. But, and speaking of food, I mean, what is it about food obviously I make homemade ice cream, so right off the bat we have sweets in the house. And I've heard people on X or Twitter talk about how bad sugar is, and they would really hate my house because I make homemade wine with enough sugar that'll bounce a kid off a wall. And trust me, you can't see it, but like right below me is about 30 bottles of elderberry mint wine. So, I mean, that's only 30 of the 100 and some bottles of wine I have at my house. So, and this is speaking of that's going to lead me into a second part. What we eat is very important, but how do we get in the right place to figure out what to eat? And a second part that I want to kind of have you go into as well is alcohol. Like I said, I have wine galore here in my house, to the point of I hand it out to people for gifts. So the fact is our society is very focused on cheeseburgers, as Mr. Pancake liked to point out, on drinking alcohol. And for me, homemade wine's healthier than regular wine. You don't have all the mysterious little stuff dumped into it. But still, the alcohol is not really that great for you. I'm well aware. I quit smoking. I quit a lot of bad habits. I'm not giving up all of them right now. What do you say to somebody that comes to you with this whole I love my cheeseburgers and I love my glass of wine at night? What do you say to them?
Yeah, I think, what we promote to our clients, we kind of abide by that 80-20 rule. There's no way around it. What you eat has a massive impact on your health, on how you age, on how your kids develop, all that stuff. So the diet needs to be cleaned up to some extent. Now, we eat ice cream probably 4 or 5 nights a week. We have one of those Ninja ice cream makers, and it's the best investment we've made in the kitchen in years. So, like you said, you go to the store and get some ice cream. It's got countless ingredients that you can't even read. When we make it, it's got 3 or 4 ingredients in it, right? So you can make these things healthier. We make cheeseburgers the other night, right? The cheeseburger can be healthy if it's not just a bunch of crap and whatnot on top of it that you would get if you went through a fast food restaurant. So I think it's just reframing these things in the mindset a little bit. Is we've normalized DoorDash and skip the dishes and hitting the drive-through, that sort of thing. I mean, when I grew up, almost all your meals were cooked at home, and now it's the minority of meals are cooked at home. And the ones that are just, we think eating is for convenience, throw it in the microwave, throw it in the oven, that sort of thing. And if we really just, don't talk ourselves out of it, cooking at home, making cheeseburgers at home, making ice cream, this stuff's not that hard. Like you said, you bring your kids in the kitchen. Now you're multiple birds with one stone. You're teaching them a life skill on how to cook. You're sprinkling some math into it. I'm sure you teach your kids some history on culinary stuff in there, as if that was your thing. So I think
waiting until they get older for that.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, it's most people talk themselves out of it before they get started, right? And once you head down that road, you start to realize how much better that cheeseburger is at home, how much better that homemade ice cream is at home. And you combine the family time of making it, it's really a win-win all around. And I know for kids, most kids are just removed from the whole process of eating. If they do come to the grocery store, they're plunked in a cart and here, watch a show on my phone while I rip through the grocery store. Kids think food comes out of a box. Well, if you bring them to the grocery store and give them a say, do you want to have chicken tonight or beef tonight? If you bring them to the farmer's market, or let's go pick some berries at the local farm, they're way more likely to be interested in eating healthy food options, right? And then you bring them in the kitchen and help them make it. They're so proud of what they made. They want to eat it. They want to share it with mom and dad. It becomes a whole experience, and they actually learn what real food is, right? So I think it's just changing that whole mindset around it. Food's not meant to come from a delivery guy or in a box with a mascot on it, right? So, yeah. Sorry.
I think we've also, a lot of times parents get stressed around thinking of family mealtime, like, oh, I just don't have time for that. But they're thinking it needs to be like a Thanksgiving style meal every time, where it doesn't. We just need to get back to simple. That's how we got to the convenience of fast food and skip the dishes, is people wanted fast and simple. Well, with some like meal prep and some strategizing a few days out or even the morning of before supper, you can keep it super simple in the kitchen and not get worked up and stressed. So we try to teach that to our parents all the time.
We are big proponents of the crock pot. You dump some meat in there with a little bit of sauce, hit a button, and come back 8 hours later. I mean, it doesn't get much more simple than that. We're not we don't love spending hours in the kitchen, but we make 99% of our meals at home.
I mean, I agree with you guys with the simple thing. That's that I try and tell people that all the time that I talk to, like my friends and stuff, because I know quite a few people. Like my wife doesn't work, so she's got the time at home to do all this stuff, where other people and friends that we have don't. And I tell them, why do you need like some nonsense, insane gourmet meal? Like, just go get a couple pieces of salmon, go get a brick of asparagus from Publix. Yes, I'm in Florida. So, just all you need is that. And then, I mean, you can get like a little bit of salt and pepper or just like a pre-made, seasoning. Just make sure you read the back of it. And it's not like, formaldehyde on the back of it. Just make, But anyways, so you just get 2-3 pieces of salmon, a brick of asparagus, and like 2 potatoes. I don't know. What else do you need? That's not a lot. That's actually probably a meal, I would say maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks in our house. Literally. Just a couple pieces of salmon, some asparagus, and that's it. Maybe some potatoes if we have time. It's really not, and that's the perfect meal. It's really, what else do I need? Do I need 17 ingredients to make this fancy sauce? Then I got to go get some pasta, and I got to cook the pasta to have it on the side. It's got to be angel hair pasta. Then I got to go get tomatoes and salt and pepper and oregano and basil and some onions and some garlic and all this stuff and take 4 hours making this sauce. That's nonsense. That's great for Sunday dinner, but give me a break. 2-3 pieces of salmon, throw it in a pan, brick of asparagus, throw it in another pan, and put a little oil on it and call it a day. I mean, a little salt and pepper, and you're done. That's like the best meal, and it's delicious. It's fantastic. And I try and explain that to people, and they're like, oh, that's gross.
I'm taking a Mr. Pancake's in the mood for some salmon.
I love salmon. It's good.
Just wait for dinner.
I was going to say, in my house, only my wife does fish. So I come from the Midwest, so we're all pork, chicken, and beef. So,
but it's the same with that stuff too. Like a piece of chicken with a little bit of salt and pepper, or just something simple. Yeah. You don't really need something insane,
Right. Well, like tonight, I was going to make meatloaf, and I'm like, my sinuses are killing me. I don't want to be mixing all that. So I'm just de-thawing some chicken. I'm going to throw some seasoning and throw it in the oven and get the rice cooker going and mix some corn in with it. We put corn and rice together for ours, and the kids will be happy as can be, and it's less stress for me. I mean, like you said, it doesn't have to be something complicated. Now, yeah, I have recipes that are complicated that just would drive me up the wall, but I haven't made them since I've had kids, just because, one, my son is picky as can be.
Right.
My daughter, she'll eat about anything I put in front of her. God bless her soul. But I mean, yeah, for the most part, a lot of people, it does seem they want to they're stressed out about it being all this big, complicated. I have to have this much fruit, this much vegetable, this much grain, this much this, instead of just saying, today we're having potatoes, chicken, or pork, or whatever, and I'll find something to throw off to the side that the kids will eat and be done.
Right.
Even goldfish crackers, which I know aren't overly healthy, but
goldfish. But
Amy looks like she wants to say something off of that.
A lot of people get mistaken with the size of their meal needs as well. So they also do that, and that also adds like an enormous amount of time and effort is creating this meal that's like everybody thinks you got to have a 4-course meal and it's got to be this big and fill the whole plate, and that's way off balance as well. You really don't need if back to the salmon. If you're gonna have a piece of salmon, I mean, it's really only got to be like this big. Salmon's a very high in protein and omega-3s and all that stuff. So really, a 200-pound man only needs a piece this big for the meal. Granted, he probably needs 200 grams throughout the course of the day, but at that meal, this big. That's it. So you don't need like this massive plate and all this stuff. So that takes a lot of time to make more food.
I hear you. The only thing I'd piggyback too is, instead of 2 pieces of salmon, we'd make 4, so that you got lunch the next day, right? We're big on that.
Oh yeah.
Double up the chicken breast, just thrown in the oven, and you got lunch the next day. We're big on the leftovers.
Yeah, same here. We do leftovers almost every night.
I go out of my way to make less food.
Okay, yeah.
I'm the type, if leftovers are there, you forget it. It's not going to be there for much longer. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to eat it.
See, with me, if the kids like it, leftovers are great. So.
Yeah, they are for sure. Yeah, I was hearing you talk about the farmers market. It's actually there's an awesome farmers market up here that it's been kind of halfway going out of this lady's house, and she finally bought a property and she started it. And I got a big jar of elderberry syrup and another jar of honey, but they're both like local. And I buy honey off her every single year, and it's all locals right here. And I was actually going to say, one of the things you were talking about your sinuses, I actually eat about a tablespoon of honey every single day for about 2-3 months during this time of year. And it, like, me, my wife, and my kid have pretty much no sinus problems. And when we first moved here, we had miserable sinus problems, and we started eating. Not saying I'm a doctor or nothing, but see, it seems to work. It kind of like, I don't know, I guess it kind of gets you used to the flowers and the pollen and whatever's that's around here prior to you actually having seasonal issues. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I've heard that.
Interesting. Yeah. No, and the elderberry syrup made me sweat like crazy.
The elderberry syrup made you sweat?
Yeah, it makes me sweat like a maniac because I think it makes my heart rate go up. Makes me hyper.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Give our kids that right before bed, and it usually just helps them crash.
Yeah, I took it last night before bed. I mean, granted, I took the jar and swigged it, so may have taken too much, but it was good. And I woke up in like a pool of sweat. My wife is like, "I'm washing the sheets today."
So, Jeff, Amy, let me ask you guys something. Let's say, for an example, I call you guys up or I email you through your website, thehealthyfamiliesthrive.com, and I say, I need something better. I need to get in better shape. I just want to be, I'm not worried about how I look, but I just want to be strong enough that when my kid's a teenager, I can still beat him in a wrestling match. It's funny, but until just years ago, I found out my stepdad, who I used to wrestle with, he always whooped my butt. My buddy and I, he would beat us all the time. And then one day he just stopped. My mom just told me that the reason he stopped was because I was getting strong enough that he was afraid I'd be able to beat him. and he didn't want me to think I could.
He
So
retired on top.
that's how you have to do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do you tell somebody like me, who, mind you, I'm not obviously out of shape horribly bad. I'm not obese, but I definitely have weight to lose, room to fix, all this stuff. If I contacted you, what would be my first step with doing so?
Yeah, I think, you know, we meet with everyone, and similar to how we're meeting, we want to have a conversation. We want to learn more about the individual, learn about their goals, and the big reason, like Amy said, is their why. You know, if you don't really have a strong why on why you want to change, you're not likely going to have the success that you're hoping for. You know, everyone's motivated. They see a good post, or we just had, you know, a ton of inquiries with New Year's, right? It's New Year's resolutions. Everyone's going to get fit and change and all that stuff. And, you know, here we are beginning of February, and most of that motivation's fizzled out. So you can tell when someone's got a strong why, when, you know, they had a health scare, when they just, you know, they saw the disappointment in their kids' eyes, when they had to tell them no, they're too tired to play or whatever it is. Everyone's kind of, you'll notice these similar whys among parents. And when you find someone that really wants to change, that's who we want to work with. And then from there, you just figure out everyone's starting point. Like I said, we like to start with, you got to get that person in better shape themselves, not necessarily strictly from a fitness standpoint, but a better mindset and a better place where they have more of themselves to give, right? Sometimes you even have to, you know, take a step back and try and give a little bit less of yourself to your family, take care of yourself, build yourself up to the point where you can start to give more. So our program really dials in on four main pillars that we've identified in parents, that being fitness, nutrition, a lot of that self-care and mindset. And then once those are established and people start to, you know, gain a little bit more resilience, they have more energy, they're not exhausted all the time, then we start to hone in on quality family time. So it's really, you know, we have parents that tried a fitness program they saw online, and they got some recipes and a couple workouts. Well, that didn't address their lack of schedule, you know, free time in the schedule, or their lack of sleep, or anything like that, those unique challenges parents have, right? So we've sort of built our program to factor all those things in, and we work on routines with your family and how to spend quality time with your kids, and how you and your spouse can support each other, and, you know, build schedules that allow you to have that time for yourself. So it's a big downfall with most parents, is they put their work in front of themselves, and their wife in front of themselves, and their kids in front of themselves, when really that's backwards. You need to be at the top of your list, right? We hear it all the time. You can't pour from an empty cup. So we got to turn that around and get you focusing on you, so then you have more of yourself to give, to be a better husband, better wife, better father, mother, parent, that sort of thing. So
All right. What about this? What do you guys tend to hear that people give their why, but really tend to be the whys that they don't stick with, or could be a bad why, I guess, like New Year's resolutions, because most people fail with those. And then just to expand off of that, what do you tell people to do to find? They're like, well, I don't know what my why is. What do you tell them to do to find that why?
We one of the first things parents do when they sign up with us is they sit and they journal, or they write a letter to themselves about what initially made them want to reach out to us. What was it? Was it a post? Was it a comment somebody made to you? Was it the way your kids looked at you and you tried to do something? Take that initial moment and just sort of write about it, reflect about it. You know, and, you know, sometimes, not to get too picky, but some of the dads in our groups will be like, oh, like, I'm not going to write my feelings on a piece of paper. But we really try to encourage them to do it. Nobody sees it. It's not like the parents send this letter to us or share it with their spouse. It's truly just a letter to yourself. How did it feel when you were at the pool and you looked around and you were like, holy man, how did I get here? How did this happen? How did this happen in my life? This is not what I want for my kids. Like, just take those moments and write them on paper and really reflect on it. And everyone has a starting point. So there was something that triggered you, something that had you reach out. And so that's what we get our parents to lean into and to try to explore a little bit more. And those make the best whys, the ones that really get in touch with your emotion. When you just are like, oh, it's the new year, so I'm going to set out to lose 20 pounds this year because, I should just do it. It's been a while. Well, that's not going to drive you. If you write that on a sticky note and put it on your mirror in the bathroom and see, like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds just because I should, that's not going to make you hit the gym at 10 o'clock at night after a busy day because, just because I should. You're going to easily talk yourself out of it. You have to really get in with those emotions and just say, remember when I was at the pool and I saw myself in the mirror? That's why I'm going to the gym tonight for 30 minutes and not picking up my phone,
Mm-hmm.
I think what you get good at is you gain the experience of working with clients is you just you keep diving deeper. Well, I just want to get in shape. Well, why? Okay, well, why? Well, why? And after about the fifth or sixth or seventh time you ask them why, you start to get down to, it's for my kids. It's I saw my dad have a bad health scare and how I felt going through that. I don't want my kids going through that sorts of things. So you can really take them down that path. And a lot of times they don't even fully, realize what their deep why is, or they're not able to verbalize it. So that's what we do with that discovery call, is to really see if we can unearth that why. It's like Amy said, the motivation wears off after a week or two. No one can stay motivated forever, right? It's waning. You need to have that discipline. And in those moments where you want to quit, you want to just not get out of the car to go walk into the gym, you can look at that note on your phone or that sticky on your visor, and it's for my kids, it's for my wife, it's for my whatever it is, right? And that's what gets you in there when you don't want to be there.
Yeah,
makes
absolutely.
sense.
Yeah, those are some of the partial reasons. I also same reasons. You talk about the health scare. My wife's dad's much older, and he's not unhealthy, but he's by no means healthy. So that kind of, he's working. Actually, we were actually kind of proud of him because he's like cut soda, all that stuff. But he's a very large man, like 350, 400 pound large. And I was like, 70, 80 is a good age, but why can't I push it to 90? You know what I mean? It's 10 more years with my kid, 10 more years with her kids, and maybe even her kids' kids. My grandmother is actually still alive, and I have a 5-year-old, and my brother has a 13-year-old. So my grandmother got to see her great grandkids, and they probably still have 10 years. So that to me was all the motivation I needed. I don't want to be dead at 7 years old.
Very cool. No, when you're young, 70 seems so old, but as you start getting closer to that age, you realize it's not.
And my wife's parents are 70. So it's like, that's her parents, They're not going to be around very much longer. So yeah, that's kind of like, I don't want to be 70 and be looking forward to dying soon.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's really what it's all about, right? Like, there's that saying that the wealthy man wants many things and the sick man wants one thing. Like, if
right.
To us, the legacy is our kids and the generations that come after us. And how cool would it be to see your kids' and you're like, holy smokes, this is 3 generations removed, and I get to witness it with my own eyes. Like, that's a pretty special thing. Yeah. And so I'm going to do it.
I'm not saying we should all be living to, stack on the future. Oh, I'm so worried about what's going to happen then than I am now. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, at least give yourself the opportunity.
For sure.
Yeah, if you don't give yourself that opportunity, then, you're not going to get there anyway. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I am curious on something. And, I should have brought this up at the beginning, and I don't know why it just dawned on me, but I love a lot of your guys' advice. Obviously, like I said, I follow you guys on X and enjoy a lot of your posts, but one thing people probably have been asking also is, Jeff, you said you have a health sports or a sports therapy practice that you do, but you're helping people get better. Why should people really listen to both of you on these topics and try to work with you guys to get better? Because if I'm distance away, you're not seeing me and helping me. I've had a therapist when my back went out on me. Had a acute herniated disc, just pulled me out for a month. That's why I could relate when you were talking about being out for a week. I'm sitting there going, my doctor told me if I go golfing again, I could end up having surgery. So one of those things that you sit there and go, okay, I have to make some changes. But what what is the purpose that I would even call you guys or email you guys to say, hey, I need help?
Yeah, I think everyone has their own, I don't know if rock bottom's the right word, but everyone has their own reason for that. And, we don't necessarily promote our credentials. I think in today's day and age, the piece of paper on the wall means less than it used to.
Right.
I think the credibility that some people feel we bring is we've been there ourselves. We've gone through it. We don't claim to know everything, but this is what we're passionate about. Through our own practices, we've seen the path of weak parents raising unhealthy kids, and I think that's a big problem in today's society. Where we're seeing the results of a couple generations of that. So we're really passionate on giving kids a chance. If they're getting processed junk and screens right out of the gate, you're not even really giving them a chance to hit their full potential. So that's what we're passionate about. We read the books, we work with the clients, we connect with others in the industry. We're really interested in finding the best way, and we don't know it all, and we make more mistakes than we have wins. But I think that's part of it. Is we're in the trenches. We are going through this ourselves. We're still going through it in our own health journey. We're going through, I think a strong marriage is a important pillar of a healthy family. So we work on that all the time. We're raising our kids, and you just start to figure it out with your kids, and they leave a phase and they're in a new phase, and you realize you know nothing, right? And you're sort of starting all over again. So that for us, I think is why people reach out to us. Is there's just that relatability, right? Everyone's got their own starting point, and we've worked with parents at different starting points. We've been through the gamut, and we're still trying to learn. I hope I look back at where I am in a year from now, 5 years from now, and realize how little I knew and how far I've come, right? So that's kind of what I feel attracts people to our account, is a little bit of that relatability.
I think just
All
like
right.
Jeff was saying, where most of our clients are starting from is where we were about 5 years ago. So we can help you avoid making some of the mistakes that we've made and save that time for you by our trial and error, by our expertise in our fields. Before we kind of turned to this online avenue, we're able to sort of save parents that precious time and those precious resources, and just sort of give them a thought out plan of let's get you to that goal.
All right. So how about this? The fact if I come to you guys and I want to get better, do I need to have my wife involved as well, or is it something that is just me, or how do you guys suggest people do this?
Yeah, there's no necessarily prerequisites. We're working with a single father right now, but an advantage that we feel that parents have, or that couples have, is that ability to lean on each other, that ability to support each other, that ability to, like you said, cover each other in the schedule. There's all sorts of statistics out there when you have that accountability partner, when you sort of make that promise not only to yourself but to someone else. You're X time more likely to achieve your goals when you have that person that's living with you, is invested in you. If you're both doing it for your kids, if you're doing it for each other, it's that much easier to keep the junk food out of the house and make the healthy meals. It's that much easier to schedule fitness into the routine. Husband and wife have unique ways of rewarding each other when you do hit those goals, or you can stay on track for the week, sort of things. There's definitely some advantages than trying to go at it alone. We've worked with clients, or even have friends of the family that have tried to do it on their own. And when you're having to make a different meal for your wife or different meal for kids, it's just that much more challenging, right? So I think when you can lean into each other, that really increases your chances of success.
And our passion isn't just transforming parents' fitness levels. We really want that to have that trickle down effect, and how bettering parents affects the whole family. So we want the healthy habits that mom and dad are learning to then be passed on to their kids, so they can take those healthy habits and then build on them themselves. So if you're coming at us as a partnership, the success of that is going to be much greater.
Well, it sounds like you guys are doing this not just to make money, but it's a passion that you guys feel strongly about. It's something that, at least in what I can see from just our short conversation, you want to see people do better and be better with what you guys are doing. Where do you want people to reach out to you if they want to contact you, if they want to follow you on social media or what so have you?
The best way for people to get a hold of us is probably through our website. There they have access to our email, our newsletter, all of our social media handles. So it's an easier one-stop shop than trying to list 5 different things and have people try to click around on those. But if you head over to our website, that's the easiest way to get a hold of us.
So all somebody needs to go is to Healthy Families, and that's family, FAMILIES, thrive.com. So, and again,
Yep.
we'll have those notes in the show notes so people can click on it or go to you guys to find you guys. I mean, right now I feel like there's a whole lot of other topics I could have easily split our conversations off on. And Mr. Pancake, I can see his eyes wanting to ask a whole lot more questions. Unfortunately, we've been talking for about an hour. What do you guys really feel like a good message you want to leave people with first before we end the conversation for everybody? What would you want everyone to remember from this conversation?
I think for me, I just want parents to be trying to become the best version of themselves possible. There's no finish line with parenting. You're never going to achieve the goal of being the best parent or the perfect parent. If you're like us, you're going to mess up more than not. But I think as long as you're trying, that step forward every day, you're trying to become a better person. You're trying to become a better husband, a better father. That's the best we can do. And at the end of the day, that's how you're going to give your kids the best chance for success. And that's what parenting's all about.
I agree with that. And I would also just add, if there's those things that you're thinking about doing in your life, just do it. Quit waiting, quit trying to overplan it, quit trying to find the right moment, just start. Because none of that other stuff's going to happen. You just got to start.
All right.
Awesome.
And that makes sense. So perfect. Well, with that, I'd like to thank you guys for being here.